I remember feeling that way. I'm not as energetic as I used to be. Well, it's not that I'm not as energetic. I just stopped doing the things that I used to, right? Like this morning, I got up and ran. But I remember feeling like I don't have the energy to do this. My body's fine. It's my mind. I have my mind wrapped around the wrong things. I don't want to do it. I'm being lazy. Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. I am your host, AZ Araujo, and today's topic is bad habits hide the obvious. Now, I got a little bit of an experiment going on today, and I want to see, and some of you already have gone through this, and if so, I'm going to ask you not to give away what is going on with this video, but I think, oftentimes we're so committed on being able to achieve certain things in our life, in our business, in our marriages, that we miss the obvious, right? And we come to a conclusion that, things are just out of our control. Our business will always be this way. Our marriage will always have its problems. I'm always going to be out of shape, or, we always conclude certain things. There's this, I have two Labradoodles. And, these guys are like best friends. I have a chocolate one and a gold one, and they run around the yard. So I have them crate trained. So every time we get home, we let them out of their crate and they go outside, they do their business, and next thing you know, they're running around. Well, part of our routine in the morning is to let them out as soon as we wake up, usually around 5 o'clock in the morning. Let them out and they do their thing. They're running around. And one of the things that I've noticed is that Choco, my chocolate Labradoodle, would come in with his beard all wet, soaking wet. And I'm thinking, what happened here? And I didn't think anything of it until I started noticing more and more. Completely wet, where it's drenching, And I catch them one time, they're drinking out of the pool. Now, I'm no doctor, I'm no veterinarian, but I'm assuming that drinking out of the pool is probably not as healthy for them as drinking fresh water, right? It's probably not healthy for you or me. It's just the obvious. And I'm like, how in the hell am I going to break this habit? So I've witnessed them now numerous times. Like after they run around, they're out there drinking pool water. And I'm like, God damn it. How am I going to break this? So I start planning out on how I'm going to catch them. So I buy these shock collars, right? They're like a training mechanism you can use to train your pets. And there's 3 different levels. There's a beep level, there's a vibrate, and there's an actual buzz, right? So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to put these things on them, and whenever I see them going to the pool, I'm going to go ahead and buzz them. I don't want to shock them, shocking is overkill, but I'll buzz them to catch their attention. So I spent an afternoon, like hiding by the window as I let them out. I'm hiding by the window so they don't see me. And of course, Boy spots me and they move away from the pool. But I start doing this more and more. I'm like hiding behind the windows. And then one time I sneak outside and I'm hiding behind the pillar like some type of ninja. I'm like, I have this buzzer and I'm like, all right, as soon as I see them, I'm going to buzz them, so it will train them not to go drink pool water. And I spent a couple of weeks getting pissed off about the fact that they're drinking pool water. I'm spending time trying to train them not to drink this pool water. And I completely missed the obvious. What's the obvious? Well, when they run around, they get thirsty. So why not put a bowl of water outside for them? That was the obvious. But I was looking for a solution that was much greater than what really needed to happen. They didn't need to be retrained. They didn't need to learn anything new. What they needed was water, and they were telling me what they needed. And sometimes our business tells us exactly what it needs, but we think it's something greater or a bigger solution that was really required. And in this case, all I had to do was put a bowl of water outside, and they stopped drinking the pool water. Imagine that, right? The obvious, like the gorilla just comes out. We're so focused on one thing. I'm trying to find the solution. You're trying to count how many times the ball is being passed, and there's a gorilla that passes right in front of the screen. And in this case, I'm like, oh, damn it. Here I am spending all this time and energy, getting upset with my dogs, chastising my dogs, yelling at my poor dogs. And all I needed to do was put a bowl of water outside for them. And it gets me thinking about how many times we do this, not only with our health, with our marriage, but in our careers, right? Where it's so obvious what we have to do for our business, but because we think it's something greater that is out of our control or requires more time and energy, we disregard the obvious. We disregard the solution that is sometimes very simple. And I see this time and time again with agents and getting deals into escrow. I see the work that is put into it. The relentless behaviors of making sure you're marketing every day, you're reaching out to your sphere to ultimately get the results you want, where you get the 2 to 3 deals in escrow. But I also see the patterns that continue to debilitate the overall growth of their businesses when you stop doing what got you there to begin with. 2 to 3 escrows is very difficult to keep a hold of or to stay ahead of. Right? 2 to 3 escrow requires a lot of time and energy in trying to fulfill that, trying to make sure that the inspections are set, trying to make sure we communicate with the title company, the mortgage company, communicating with their client. It's very difficult. And time again, I'll see individuals attempt to do this on their own. And time again, I see the same result. They close the 3 transaction, everything is great, there's a money injection into their bank account, but what ends up happening? There is no more deals behind that. And we're thinking, well, how do I grow my business? We lose all our confidence because now we're starting from ground zero. We stop marketing. We stop doing the things that got us there to begin with in attempts to fulfill on our clientele base, the ones that are under contract. And the obvious is, hey, get some help. The obvious is get a transaction coordinator to handle some of that stuff for you. The obvious is do not stop marketing. Continue to do your open houses. And I just ran into this with a few agents just a few weeks ago. Work themselves all the way up, do the open houses consistently, market every day, but as soon as 2 or 3 escrows are in the pipeline, all that stops. The obvious is to continue to move forward so we don't have the peaks and valleys in our business. And the obvious sometimes costs more money. Listen, an investment into your business is an investment in others. You get the right personnel, your business will continue to grow year after year, and it's something that'll continue to prosper for a long term. So as you're starting to work, as you're starting to get these deals into escrow, and I'm starting to see the momentum in a lot of you, and as you're starting to grow your business to double or triple the return that you had before, you're going to have to put into your work the obvious. Get people to help you. It's funny. I was reading this. I'm part of this group, and there was this gentleman that said, and I'll read it verbatim. What he said is, he said, "I did a food allergy test to see if certain foods were causing me to be fat." Okay. So again, his thought process was like, "Hey, listen, like I can't lose this weight. I'm gaining weight. I'm not as energetic. I'm not doing the things that I used to do, right? I don't have the vitality as I used to." So he says, "I did a food allergy test to see if certain foods were causing me to be fat." He gets the results. He says, "It turns out I'm not allergic to anything, and the whole time I've been lazy and fat." It's the obvious. But I'm sure for many years he latched on to that story. Hey, I can't lose this weight. I must be allergic to food. It must be this sickness that I have. It must be this other thing that I got. I just can't lose this. It's my genetics. My genetics don't allow me to be in shape. He goes to the doctor. They run all sorts of tests and say, "Hey, listen, you're just eating like shit. You're not taking care of yourself. You're eating when you're not supposed to be eating. You're eating the wrong foods." But we sometimes miss the obvious because we think it's something beyond that. He thought there was an actual health issue until he looked at it black and white and was like, oh, it was all on me the entire time. I remember feeling that way. I'm not as energetic as I used to be. Well, it's not that I'm not as energetic. I just stopped doing the things that I used to. Right? Like this morning, I got up and ran. But I remember feeling like I don't have the energy to do this. My body's fine. It's my mind. I have my mind wrapped around the wrong things. I don't want to do it. I'm being lazy. And, for our business, we have to be aware that could kill our business, laziness. The obvious is like people are not buying or selling during this time. The obvious is you're not doing the things required to get deals going. We've had plenty of agents that put 2 to 3 escrows in the last 2 weeks. And some of us are still in this story like, well, it's just slow down. Nobody wants to list. Nobody wants to buy. Well, that's the obvious, right? Yeah, market trends do indicate that during this time it gets a little slower. But there's also another indication that there's a bunch of sales that are going to happen, 6,000 to 7,000 sales. And all you need is a small sliver of that. But it's up to us to be able to point out the obvious and to be able to say, oh, the obvious is I just got to continue to do more work. And the obvious is I need a transaction coordinator. And the obvious is I need to hire people to continue to grow my business. And if you're in this place where you got the same results this year as you did last year, it's because you're avoiding the obvious. You're avoiding to invest in your own business, to double down when things are good, to get the help necessary to continue to move forward. So all we're doing is the same things, the same patterns, with no real solution. Open houses is the same thing. For many of you've already disregarded open houses as like it doesn't work for you. And, pointing out the obvious, right? You held an open house, nobody walks in, and the obvious thing would be like, hey, it doesn't work, nobody walked in. But what if you were to look just in a simpler format? Like maybe you chose the wrong property. Maybe it was the wrong location. Maybe you didn't have that many signs. Maybe your mindset wasn't right to get the right people through. Maybe it was your approach, the wrong mindset. Maybe it was the wrong number of signs, too many turns. But instead of looking at all that, we come in with one solid solution. It doesn't work. When I've seen it work time and time again. If you're trying to grow your business, why not double the amount of time you're able to be in front of your client by working out of the open house? You're able to duplicate yourself, not only at the open house, but you'll do the things you typically do, like make phone calls, right? Market on Facebook, do the things you're supposed to do, like follow up emails while you're at the open house. That's one way to duplicate your efforts. But instead, we avoid the obvious. We avoid the fact that open houses do work because we came with our own conclusion that they don't work. When we didn't look fully into, I didn't even market it this week in order to make that happen. These are all things we got to really think about. Or else you're going to be like me behind the pillar, right? Trying to shock the poor dog because the obvious solution to that was to drink out of a bowl. Put a bowl of water outside, keep it filled, and they'll stop avoiding drinking out of the pool. And these are things that we have to think about. If you're in a position where you're constantly chasing clientele base, right? You're used to making phone calls every single day, cold calling, doing things of that nature, and your hopes are to get a big referral base. But if you don't make an attempt to reach out to your past clients or your sphere of influence, nothing's going to change. You're hating the process, but nothing will change until you decide to do the obvious. The obvious is if you want a bigger referral base, you have to contact your referrals. You have to text them, you have to call them, you have to reach out to them, you have to visit them. It's that simple. This business is not difficult whatsoever. I've been in the game 16 years. I've succeeded 16 years. Have I had my ups and downs? Absolutely. But at the end of the year, I know where I'm at. There's some adjustments that need to be done. And the obvious thing is, there's always going to be buyers and sellers. You have to decide, do your actions align with what you want? Confucius once said, when it is obvious that the goals cannot be reached, don't adjust your goals, adjust the action steps. What does that mean to you? I know what it means to me. That means that there's always going to be a solution to anything and everything you do. So what is it that you want? And if you don't have it right now, it doesn't necessarily mean that your goal is wrong. It means that maybe your tactics are incorrect. And looking at the obvious of the things that we need to do are there's a certain pattern to be successful in this business. There's certain things that are required in order for you to be successful. We know the obvious, but are you actually following up? Are you doing the things required? Same thing for, if you really tie it into anything in our lives, we have all the solutions. And we talked about this before, even in relationships. When there's a lot of friction, when there's a constant just battles, it never seems to get any better. We miss the obvious, right? We're so focused on what the other person is not doing. We're so focused on what the other person, is triggering us or whatever it may be that we miss the obvious. In any relationship, there are 3 components that'll make it successful: love, appreciation, and respect. Love, appreciation, and respect. And yet we fail to give that on a consistent basis because we're so, upset, resentful, fed up. But at the end of the day, if you ever decide to have a conversation with your significant other, you'll come to the same conclusions. Both of you are missing that, and both of you are failing to give that. It wasn't a hard formula for me to figure out, but yet I missed the obvious. So I would do everything besides that, in order to try to fix my marriage. When in fact, I was missing the obvious. I wasn't giving the love, the respect, or the appreciation I should have. Now I find myself constantly reminding my spouse of how much I appreciate her by pointing out some of the things that she does for me every day, and vice versa. It's things that we know, it's things that we appreciate about the other person, but we just fail to communicate that, to convey that, to remind them. So years go on and one person that doesn't feel appreciated or respected, and it's because we failed to do that on our end. So as we go through the days, start thinking about the obvious. There's so many moving components to your business, so many moving components to being in the best shape possible. Our responsibility is just to try to look at the obvious. Try to look beyond just being so focused on counting how many times the ball is being passed around. And start looking beyond that, taking a step back and realizing it doesn't have to be as difficult as we sometimes think it is. Your business is not that difficult. Maybe it just has to do with your consistency and your mindset behind it. Like this gentleman said, there was absolutely nothing wrong with him. He was just being lazy. And maybe that's just our approach. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your business. You're in the right environment. Maybe it's just following up your actions or your wants with actions. Sometimes it's that simple. So as we get into the day, get into the week, start asking yourself, what is it that you truly want out of your business, out of your relationships? And before you start asking what your business should do for you and what your partner should do for you, start seeing if you're doing what's required for them, for your business, for you as a husband or a wife. Because you can't expect it if you don't give it. And it's that simple. But sometimes, like I said, bad habits hide the obvious. So don't be like me, where you just make it more difficult. Where, there's certain patterns that your business, that you've demonstrated, your business can provide you the type of results you want. We've all seen it. But as soon as you get those results, don't miss what got you there. Don't miss the obvious. Don't let bad habits creep in. The complacency. Right? The false sense of accomplishment. We're only a few days from the new year. And we can change the dynamic of how our lives moving forward. The new standard, right? The new decade, new standard. Something I've been saying here for the last few weeks. Because I think if we take this into consideration, our patterns and obvious solutions, I think we can get everything we need and everything we desire. So what does your relationship look like in the next 12 weeks, next 12 months? What does your body look like? How do you feel? And how is your business positioning itself for long-term success? These are all things we need to think about. So how many of you actually caught that gorilla coming through? Did you guys see this before? Did you guys see this before? I know the first time I saw it, like I said, I showed my daughters, both of my daughters. One of them caught it right away. The other one was like so caught up. My youngest was so caught up in trying to count the number of times that the ball was passed that she completely missed it. And she was like, no way. I showed her and she was like, oh, I didn't see that the entire time. So guys, like we have enough experience to be able to see the solutions, to look beyond the busy work, to actually look at ourselves as business owners and realize like I can't hustle for years on end. I got to build the right systems and the right process or I'm going to burn out. I'm going to burn my family out. Like that's the way we got to think. And I've seen many of you produce at a high level, but you're stuck at a certain level because you're failing to find the solution to the obvious. The obvious is you need help. You can't do this on your own. The obvious is you need to communicate at home. The obvious is you got to start taking care of yourself. So what are you guys hearing in this conversation? I want to thank you for joining me today. And I want to say good morning to Isabel, Patrick, Nick, Susan. Good morning, Adriana, Christina, Teresa, Isabel, Nick. I'm glad we have sound now. Merry Christmas to you, Gabe, Caroline, Liz, Patrick. How's it going? We can hear the video now. Good morning, Chris. Celia, I can't hear you in the video. Man, we've been having some technical difficulties here the last couple of weeks. I'm sure these guys are going to get it here because I know it's not the software. Guys, I'm putting the obvious on you. So just think how good things can get, right? Julio, I'm not sure if it's me, but no sound is off. Lonnie, you're just eating like shit. Right? There's nothing wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with your business. You're just not taking the appropriate actions. It's all on you. And that's what I love about this place. We all take personal responsibility. And do we forget from time to time? Yeah, we make it more difficult on ourselves. We do get caught up by the shiny object sometimes, where we think somebody else will have the solution for us. So we lose all this energy. We lose all this thought process. When all we have to do is look back at what we're doing and applying the things that we're not. It's real easy to get caught off guard in this industry. It's real easy to fall into the trap of false promises. I'm here to tell you it's all within you. You have everything within you now to get to whatever you desire. It's just aligning your actions with your desires that'll get you there. That's not a false promise. That's just looking at your behaviors and realizing what do you want and are your actions supporting that want? So start thinking about this. We're all in full control of where we're going to take our businesses, where we're going to take our health and our relationships. Let's play the game at a high level. Let's realize that we can begin again. Just because we failed in the past, just because we had a peaks and valleys type of year in our business, we can begin again. All right, Patrick, never seen it before. Missed it. You missed a big gorilla there, huh? Good morning, Claudia. Well, guys, take a look. I want you to look up that video. It's called Monkey, what is it called? The Monkey Business or something? Experiment, Monkey Business Experiment. And show your kids, see if they're able to see that, and show your spouse. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. Just being caught off guard, thinking that things are outside of our control, and we're just too focused on things that really don't matter. We're too focused on putting your deals, having them closed, that we forget to do other things. Yes, it matters that your deal's closed, but the realization is you can get people to help you look at that process so you don't stop your marketing, so you don't stop your momentum. So guys, we have a busy day today. we have another autoresponder training. And if you haven't taken this, I am going to offer this class in mid-January again. And it does take a commitment. And I'm learning so many lessons. And I think the people that were involved are learning many lessons about themselves as well. 2 weeks ago, I had this workshop, right, where it was all the participants had to create 8 videos. And everyone committed that they would do what was required to get this done. And what I've noticed is a small fraction actually get it done by the timelines given. And I think this will really open up the eyes of individuals that participated, of realizing that, sometimes we prioritize other things beyond the things that we committed to. And that's what may keep us from actually achieving what we want. So if you haven't signed up for this class, I'm going to offer this again in mid-January. Reach out to me. I'll reach out to many of you, but I'm only taking 15 this time because I learned my lesson. More than that, it just becomes very chaotic on my end as well. So guys, I want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Mindset Mastery. So we're going to look for the obvious and we're going to find the right solutions. So guys, you know what to do, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye now.